And the idea is that if you didn't get a chance to meet somebody in the open networking before we started or whatever, you say, oh, that person does X, Y, Z, I need to talk to that person. I have a client that they might be able to help or something like that. So, you know, keep track of everything and make sure you go grab that person's card afterwards. So, we're going to start over here on the handsome side of the room with Dr. Bilbanos, my twin brother. And I'm going to control the mic, but I won't actually hold it, so you get to actually hold your own mic today. Are you guys well behaved enough to hold your own mics?
No.
Yeah.
No? Some people are saying no?
Yeah.
Okay, I trust you though, Dr. Bill.
Okay, I'm Dr. William Manos. You actually can call me Bill or Brad Pitt since I look exactly like something different. Okay, my company is Food Safety Associates. I will only make one sentence about our company. We've been named Best Food Safety Consulting Company by LA County 14 years in a row.
Wow.
Awesome.
Good morning, my name is Faith. My nickname is Judy Wazinski. I'm a real estate agent. I help people buy and sell properties, residential properties.
Awesome. Thank you, Faith. Sure.
Hi, my name is Joan Fields Evans. I'm a residential realtor on the west side of town. I work with Keller Williams Real Estate Company, which is one of the #1 leading real estate agents. Someone should get their head out, that's embarrassing. In the nation.
No, you did good. You did good.
Play of that?
You did absolutely great.
Todd Maister with U.S. Bank. I do a small business and commercial lending, so I help small business owners grow their business through education of the proper products for their growth.
Awesome. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Luba from Petaluma. Our company is doing ecological upland gifts. Please check out our website, www.petaluma.com, for any holiday gifts or any gifts.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
I'm Rob Valero, and I work with Gary and Cindy over at Wed Graphics. We are, as Gary mentioned, just started up our promotional products division. That's basically in response to all you folks out there who have been printing, looking for promotional products to gain visibility to your products and all those.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Portobi. I'm a real estate investor, multifamily. In my past was that, I was in engineering, but not now. Thank you.
Great. Welcome. It's good to have you.
Hi, my name is Luke Brock. I work with Go LED, and we're the #1 LED lighting fixture company for industrial locations.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cindy, and I work with Gary, my husband, at Wed Graphics, and Rob Valero. And you can find us on all the social media websites, so please click on and link up with us and keep up with all our promotional specials, and I can help you with the massage information, okay?
I think yes.
Hi, I'm Ashley Novak with Rodeo Realty. I'm a residential real estate agent, and we're one of the top brokerages in the city.
My name is Jonathan Schultz. I'm Ashley's partner at Rodeo Realty. We specialize in residential real estate on the west side.
Awesome.
Good morning, everyone. I am also a realtor in California Parchment. As Buzz said, there is a lot of realtor, but I also do residential and commercial, but I have a background as an insurance underwriter, so I write a lot of the commercials and residential and business liability, workers' comp. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Esther Jing. I'm from China. I'm from 4th-generation Chinese doctor family. I bring Chinese treasure coming to United States. I use Chinese medicine, healing disease, help people, teach people how to love your body You be healthy, you don't need to be sick, and you're successful.
Awesome, thank you. Rachel, then Phil, everybody.
Good morning, my name is Rachel Lowenthal, and I represent Hillside Memorial Park and Mortuary. We are your luxury Jewish and interfaith cemetery and mortuary, the last real estate that you will name.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Philip Gabriel. I own this company called Scrubs Unlimited. We sell lactose and scrubs for doctors and nurses. We do clinics, we do hospitals, we do schools. A good referral is in 2018, if you go visit your doctor's office and the girls and guys look kind of ragged, talk to the doctor, say, hey, I've got a guy who can help you. They'll call you. One thing I just want to say real quick is that I keep all the business cards that I get here because I get at least 2 or 3 phone calls a week saying, hey, Bill, do you got a guy or gal who could do this or do that? And I keep all the cards. I think, actually, you know what? I do. Here's her name. I've used several people in this room. Esther went out of her way to help my brother. He had to cancel, but she made room for him. Malaya, where are you? She moved people around so she could see my sister for an emergency situation. I've used other people in here, and it's like a family. If you're in need of something, please don't hesitate to reach out to these people in here. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks, Phil. That was both a testimonial and a business thing as well, so thank you for that, it was good.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Leah Salazar with Intuitive Space. I am your licensed and certified massage therapist on the west side. I bring the spa to you.
Awesome.
I'm Diana Davidson, Chief Pet Officer, Managing Nanny of Westside Dog Nanny. And I board dogs in my home. I will stay overnight in your home. I walk dogs and I pet sit dogs and cats and birds. I'm certified as a professional pet sitter and by the American Red Cross and Pet First Aid. Thank you.
Awesome, perfect.
Good morning, ni hao, sopa hair, hey, buenos dias. I teach English as a second language, and I'm a professional in doing that. I have over 30 years experience, and I also have done presentations at conferences and as to how to teach your employees to be more assertive on the job. And I have private students as well as being a substitute teacher for Los Angeles Unified School District, and I hope you have a lovely morning and a successful business.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Diane Tao, and I'm an independent consultant with Arbonne International, and I am an educator, former retired guidance counselor, and I help educate you on the hidden toxins of all the products that you use. You need to know about those dangerous, toxic ingredients, so please talk to me. Toss those toxins.
Good morning. I'm Mark Walter with Barrister Executive Suites at our Brentwood Center, one of 28. I can help you find that perfect office from a virtual to a full-time and be your office space solution. Another yet real estate need here at this morning's meeting.
Yes.
Hi, Christine Halverson, Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate. My business partner is my sister, and my parents are real estate, so we've been in real estate for over 30 years. So if you have any questions, we know the answer, come to us. We'd be happy to help you. Thank you.
What runs in your blood? Simone?
Good morning, Simone Etihad. I practice law for the past 21 years. Good referral or any type of personal injuries, slip and fall. I do legal malpractice, and I have one slogan both in my personal and private and business life. I want to leave you better than I found you. So, thank you so much.
My name is Alhamia Rubian. I work at Tower of Babel Language Services. We provide teachers for kids and adults, as well as interpreters for your companies if you need anyone. We do translation for about 40 languages. We can translate your website, any documents, anything that you need. Thank you.
And our guest speaker.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, Adrien Nazarian. I have the honor of representing the Southeast San Fernando Valley, and you're going to be hearing a lot from me right now.
Good morning, Ruzga Farhanipur. I'm owner of the Delphi Greek Restaurant and Catering. And in this season, that's a holiday season. Best recall for me if you plan to host the holiday party or you want to order the catering for your home party. Both that's going to work for me, and think of Delphi Greek. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Steve Little, State Farm Insurance. With all the fires going on, now is a great time to call your insurance person. Review your coverages. You don't want to be calling them frantically this morning and asking to increase coverage. It doesn't work like that. So anyways, if you do have home insurance, renter's insurance, condo insurance, please have your coverage reviewed with your insurance professional. Thank you.
Good morning, Nima Madamian with US Bank, your business banking expert and the branch manager for the Brentwood office. Good referral is anyone that's not feeling the love with their bank. I would love to sit down and see what we can do and make their banking relationship even better.
Hi everyone, I'm just going to be the last. My name is Emma Taylor. I'm here with Assemblymember Nazarian. I'm a field representative for him, and glad to be here this morning.
Great to have you. All right, we still have a couple more.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Reza. I have a studio. We do like photography and also like videography as well too. It's my pleasure to have you guys to get the poster. Thank you.
Oh, Laura, I think you were out when we started. You were out. Just one quick sentence.
Hi, I'm Flora Leverett. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams Lodgement with Linda. And yeah, we do residential, first-time home buyers, newlyweds, you know, freshly. Yeah, we're gonna have seminars and yeah, so happy to hear. Awesome.
All right, and lastly, but not least, I'm Buzz Park with Lightyear Marketing Group. If you want to 10x your business, if your website is not identifiably bringing you new business right now, I can help you 10x your business by next year. Come talk to me. I help businesses find, get, and keep customers. And give yourselves a round of applause for a great job. All right. Well, now it is my pleasure to bring up our guest speaker today. I'm very happy to have Assemblymember Adrien Nazarian come up today. He was elected in November 2012 to represent California's 46th Assembly District. That includes Hollywood Hills, Lake Balboa, North Hills, North Hollywood, Panorama City, Sherman Oaks, Studio City, Toluca Lake, Valley Glen, Universal City, Van Nuys, and Valley Village. So he sits on the Assembly committees on arts, entertainment, sports, tourism, and internet media, health, rules, and transportation. Ladies and gentlemen, Assemblymember Nazarian.
Okay. So I was told I have about 2 hours. No, you know what I usually like to do is just give you a little bit of a sneak peek at least of who I am, what is it that I do. And then what I prefer doing is just going through some question and answers so that if there are outstanding issues that you care about, that way I get to know what's on your mind. But then if I have some answers to offer also, I do that as well. First and foremost, Ruzbeh, it's wonderful to be here. I know Elham's tried to get me here as well in the past, but it's wonderful to be here with all of you this morning. And of all mornings, of course, trying to get to the west side was a bit rough. So I'm glad we started early, and I'm going to have to rush off to the airport afterwards because I have to be in Sacramento. I'll start out with a brief recap. Usually what's happened in legislative years is that we will start focusing on an issue area that has that's getting a lot of attention. There's a great need for it, and we try to address those through legislative or budgetary fixes. And usually the area that gets the highest attention legislatively through bills becomes the issue topic of the year. And usually there's one area that gets that much attention. Well, over the course of the last few years, as tax receipts have been coming in and the state has been doing well revenue-wise, we've kind of struggled at figuring out where to exactly place some of the prioritization. Not to go back to making all the expenditures we did prior to 2008 when severe cuts were made, but to reprioritize and figure out what are the issue areas that we need to be addressing. So transportation for the last 3 years has been an important area given to what extent there's been a decay in the infrastructure. And so we started addressing this about 3 years ago. We could never really get to a conclusion because the main fights were coming down to how do you spend the money? How do you raise the money? And then how do you spend it? And given the geography and the topography of California, there's a great deal of need of highway infrastructure. We know 405 and the 101 to be the main, and the 10 to be the main highway infrastructures. But, you know, we in Los Angeles actually occupy quite a small space of highway. If you really think about how expansive and how large California is. So when you're looking at making the best investment, I always advocated on not just making the investments in highways, but also looking at rail and transit. Because if we're really going to take the next step forward to put our money where our mouth is and really try to reduce congestion, it's not going to be by continuously adding either one more lane to the freeway or by just maintaining the freeways and roads. It's actually by going underground, going above ground, however way, but making people move en masse, as opposed to continue in investing in infrastructure and technology that's only going to promote single vehicle use. So I know that you understand and appreciate that, and one of the things that I want to make certain that I accomplish before leaving office is that we invest in rail systems that connect the west side to the San Fernando Valley, which is extremely crucial, and then make sure that the San Fernando Valley is connected to Pasadena going eastward, so that the network of the rail system becomes a little more complete, and allow more people to traverse rather than have to go through the barriers of, if you want to go to Pasadena right now from San Fernando Valley, you have to go to downtown and then go to Pasadena, which kind of doesn't make sense. And of course, there's no route leading people who are traversing on a daily basis for work from the San Fernando to the west side or vice versa. So SB1 was finally passed this year, which is a $5 billion a year investment in transportation for the next 10 years. And I'm very proud to say that 17% of that annually is going to go towards rail and transit, which is a pretty remarkable investment. The state has never really taken steps to make investments in rail, so this was a first step. Second area was the cap and trade. I'm sure you heard quite a bit about it. I'm happy to talk more about it, but I'll just briefly skim over it and say that this was something where, given our attempts to address climate change and climate control, we passed many regulations, never through statute, never through law. And so we finally put it into law this year so that going forwards, it's going to be something that's based in statute code the director can change. And then third, addressing our housing crisis. And I'll be quite frank with you, even though there was about 120 bills introduced on this issue area, and I had my own bill as well on this, and we had several funding proposals. The housing issue is very complex. You don't in 1 year fix the shortage of housing, because there's, first of all, affordable housing needs, there's poverty-related housing needs, And then there's the affordability of housing also. It's not just affordable housing. And the affordability of housing is just a sheer economic game of supply and demand. If we want to make sure that our future generation of Los Angelinos have the opportunity to buy and own their own home, we just need to make sure that we're investing in more units. 20 years ago, we were building roughly about 240,000, 230,000 units a year throughout California. We're down to less than 100,000 right now. And a lot of it takes shape over the years with the slowness in growth sometimes because certain areas hit capacity. But then unfortunately, where a lot of resistance comes in is when there are communities that are well established and people don't necessarily want to see more housing because it will impact their traffic, congestion, or other issues, which is all very legitimate. But what ends up happening is with growth and with regulation, if we're going to stop investing in more units, it's just a matter of time until the ones we live in skyrocket in price, which then also holds us captive because we can't necessarily take the next step of the future house we want to invest in because we've become somewhat of a prisoner of our own home. But it doesn't allow other generations, the next generation, to also start making the investments that they need to make. So it kind of breaks the cycle. So that's a harder issue to address because it's just coming up with as many opportunities so that we incentivize smart growth over time and not just have regulations stymie further development and growth. And it also requires a cultural shift in thinking so that our residents and neighbors and constituents are welcoming to the idea of having more residents move into the area versus having less. Again, I'm happy to talk more details about that. Looking to 2018, my focus has always been to make sure that, first of all, I was elected in 2012. As background, I just jumped right into the issues and I didn't do justice in kind of giving a brief introduction. So as a way of background, I worked as a staffer. I worked for a congressman, Governor Gray Davis, a couple of different LA City Council members, and a state legislator. So I really love being a staffer. Just as further background, I was born in Iran. I came here after the war with Iraq had started, so I never really thought I had any political opportunity to ever run for office. And I'm not saying that to be overly humble, it's just that given that when you come from Iran in the 80s, and given what you leave behind, first of all, politics is something that is not open to you because, where you come from, only certain individuals have the opportunity for political office. And second is when the country you come from has held American captives for a year and a half, you just never think that that's really going to be in the cards for you. So, but I love public service. I very much enjoyed the legal system. I realized early on in life that the American judicial system is probably the best man-made system on earth to allow for justice to prevail. Because even in a country of majorities, a minority position will have its rights protected. That is amazing. That is truly an amazing protection that's offered. Now, many times it needs to be refined, retuned, reworked. You can't ever think that things are going to work on their own. But given that, I kind of started pursuing different internships to build my resume up for law school. And so I started working in a congressional office, picking up the phone calls, and soon enough I realized that I was delaying law school application because I was interested in doing yet one more job, one more work at a different congressional office or on a campaign in the governor's administration. And then 20 years later, I realized that I'm still building my resume for law school. So it's kind of funny how accidents force you into a certain journey, but it's led me to this amazing opportunity and place. So moving ahead, looking at 2018, one of the things that I always have been passionate about, and I think it's very critical to the long-term sustainability of Los Angeles, is are making sure that our water and transportation infrastructures are sound. Our water needs quite a bit of work. That's why every 4 or 5 years you see us passing bonds in the tune of anywhere from about 7 billion to about 12, 13 billion annually. If you look at our water infrastructure needs, we're probably in the $500 billion area. And as years pass by, that cost only increases over time. And you can't pass a $500 billion bond because the appetite of voters is somewhere around, the 5 to 15 billion range. And so every 4 or 5 years, we pass another chapter of funding so that addresses some of the growing water infrastructure needs. So that's going to be continued work, but mainly also as it pertains to LA area. We have an underground water storage, naturally occurring storage aquifer that can sustain about up to 70% of our water needs. But we only use about 9% right now because of all the years of contamination. Whether it was through aerospace industry, small businesses that weren't regulated, like mom and pop stores, like laundry stores that would, throw away the perk by the side and that would find its way down into our naturally existing aquifers. Or auto dismantle places. So, the combination of all these different practices over the decades have contributed to the contamination. And so quite a bit of cleanup is needed. So I've been working towards that. And then transportation, of course, we already talked about. If we want to have a place where we can traverse comfortably between the place we live to the place that we work and everything else that we enjoy about Los Angeles, we need to make sure that we make the appropriate investments right now. But as for areas that I think that we're going to need some further work in, small business to me has always held a special place. I sometimes feel in the arguments and the back and forth in Sacramento between trying to regulate some of the larger businesses, the small businesses always become the victim. The larger businesses have their CPAs, have their attorneys, have their armies of professionals who can offer the protections necessary to them. But the small businesses don't. So every time we pass regulation, I'm always extremely sensitive to the thresholds that we place in legislation so that businesses smaller than 10, 25, 50, or 100, depending on the issue area, aren't adversely impacted. So happy to talk about that as well. Given what's going on in federal daily announcements that come out, I'll be very nice about what the current situation is. You just don't know what other issues you're going to be working on because every time an announcement is made, it's yet one more sector or industry area that the state is going to need to have to address. So when you hear about healthcare changes, well, that means it's going to cost billions of dollars at the state level to try to backfill some of those services that are going to be cut now. So whether it's healthcare, poverty, infrastructure needs, I think those are, or education now, those are all going to be areas that I think you're going to see us focusing on because with whatever small reserves we have in the state, which ranges anywhere between 8 to 15 billion, you're going to see us constantly trying to placate what the federal government's cuts are doing to California and how we're going to try to plug some of those holes. And it's not going to be just for next year. It's going to have to be, we're going to need to approach it in a way that we're looking at the next 3 years, 4 years ahead. So why don't I have more that I can talk about, but why don't I stop there and take some questions? Yes?
Hi. Thank you for coming. It's always great to hear about assembly bills that might affect us. Two quick things. One, there's a lot of talk about housing the homeless. What about giving vouchers to the people who aren't homeless yet but are on their way? It seems like it might be a good idea to, if you give them a voucher, $100, $200 a month, it's cheaper than building a $250,000 unit for them. And maybe they can prevent them from becoming homeless in the first place. It might be much more cost effective. People who are in rent controlled units who stay in their place at a much cheaper rate. The other thing is, how do you feel about Elon Musk, his tunnel from the LAX to up to the pass? Do you think that's viable?
Thank you for the great questions. First of all, thank you very much also for the voucher question. I always like to bring that up myself as a way of testing my constituents about what their appetite is. So during this opportunity, when during the last 3 months of the year, our legislative cycle ends and we get to go back to our constituents and remind them why they voted us into office in the first place and have state-of-the-state conversations. One of the things that I always talk with my constituents about is, what's our appetite? Many vouchers are given, but then they're not used or rejected because if the individual receiving the voucher goes to a place of residence and is not sober, they're not going to be allowed to live, to reside in the residential unit. Well, so what is our appetite as society? Are we willing to not only pay for housing these individuals, but also accept the fact that while we're paying for their housing and they're getting paid for services to overcome their addictions, that maybe for several months, maybe even half a year, they're not going to be sober. So we're paying basically for individuals who are dealing with their demons, haven't dealt with them yet, but we're financing their shelter and services and everything while they're shooting up, because that's what the other side is going to be saying.
You're talking about this regular people, everyday people who are just working paycheck to paycheck, may need $100 to pay for the rent that month. Even no drugs, no alcohol involved.
Right.
Every joke.
That's the front line. That's the rapid housing. Those funds. There was a depletion in some of those efforts because there was such a great need after 2008, 2009. That's why you also see a lot of folks living in their vehicles because they used to live in that neighborhood and they don't want to break the consistency of having, for example, their kids still attend that school. So there's a lot of the transitional and rapid rehousing programs that have been refinanced through especially county measure. But also city measure and as well as through state funds. So you're going to be seeing a lot of that, a lot of those reinvestments coming back. But to a large extent, there are also individuals who receive vouchers, but because of some of the challenges they're dealing with, they're not being allowed to take residence. And that's going to just further complicate the cycle. So we need to probably look at seeing what is it that we're willing to accept? And it's a hard question, but it's a question that needs to be posed and for us to actually think about, are we still willing to see people on the streets or do we want to make sure that they're having their issues dealt with? So,
in the past, Elon Musk through the past.
Oh, and thank you. Look, I a lot of time, I always love to quote Thomas Edison. When he had failed on, I don't know what he was trying to invent, I can't remember this now, but it was something else, I think. He didn't just invent that. Plus there was competition for that. There was other folks working on it as well. Tesla was working on that as well. But when he was asked by a reporter, you've already failed this many hundred of times. So are you going to give up on trying to search for figuring out how to do this? And his response was, no, I now know of, I don't know what it was, 897 ways that this doesn't work, but there's still an infinite number of ways that it does work. And we're going to find it eventually. That's the persistence you need to approach solutions with. Because just because it's you don't have the answer right now, it doesn't mean that the answer doesn't exist. So does government get things right? No. Government is made up of humans, and we make mistakes. So if there is someone that is coming up with a program that we can emulate and take advantage of and use that innovation, it's welcomed. But these plans are kind of new, so I think everyone's trying to absorb what all this means. It's not cheap to dig holes in the underground of Los Angeles area and try to navigate through the pipe infrastructure and the existing rail and fault lines and I didn't really talk about some of the funding efforts that I've had, but there's always issue areas that become the sexy topics of the day, and everyone gravitates towards that. And I always find the topics that aren't so sexy but are life essential. So seismic safety has been something that I've been working on quite a bit, both legislatively and through funding. So we've increased the funding in the state for early warning systems. I put aside $10 million in the budget with the governor's support and approval for low rate loans of the revolving fund, so that adequate changes are made for small businesses that want to apply. It's through the Cal Capital program. I'm happy to talk to you about that. And then also for residents, individual homeowner residences, there's the Brace and Bolt program, which we increased by $6 million. That's a $3,000 grant per home that you can apply and win the lottery and receive the grant. So that's also something that's, this is a critical area that, especially dealing with days like today when you see how helpless you can easily be to Mother Nature, it's important to make those long-lasting investments in your properties. So any other questions? Yes?
Thank you. As you might be joining us today. One of the issues that most of the small businesses, I think in entire city, specifically on the west side, we are dealing with is abusing the handicap placard on the parking spots. I want to know that a couple of times that's tried under the stations, but they fail. Do you have any other plan to enforce it or follow up with that, do more research on that?
It's funny, I was actually looking into that as well. And part of it was, having been a student at UCLA, it was quite challenging seeing how many individuals would avoid paying their parking permit fees. And I had to have 2 jobs to afford my college tuition. So you don't forget those things. Sometimes the root of the challenge also is, it's multiple fold. I've heard of reports where DMV personnel aren't doing what they're supposed to. It's used by somebody else. Even when someone is honest enough to take it in and say, my family member passed away, I've heard of instances where the DMV will say, personnel will say, well, why don't you use it? So there's always inherent institutional challenges, and the accountability in those places need to be addressed. Now, when I say that, I don't want, this is an anecdote, so don't take that as being the overwhelming problem. Right. It's a very, very small part, but inefficiencies do take place, and so there's inefficiencies in the private sector and in the public sector. This is one of those. So that happens. But 2, is the nature of pleasing our clients. And there's some burden here that a large burden that's shared and put upon our doctors. A lot of times, our medical professionals do not want to say no to their clients because out of fear that their clients will go to somebody else who would then say yes. And it's part of the problem also of that's a contributing factor of our rising costs of healthcare as well. A lot of times the answer is easier to be yes. What I've kind of been looking at is maybe putting in severe penalties to medical professionals who approve without a good basis of allowing individuals to have placards. So that's something that my staff is looking into to see if that's a good approach, so that we're at least trying to nip one issue area before it sprouts too much, which already has been. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yes. Yes, Assemblymember Nazarian, thank you again so much for coming. This may be a little bit charged of a question, and if it is, let me know. We can talk about it offline. So my wife,
all day.
yes, of course. My wife is a teacher. She's been teaching for 35 years, and California, when it comes to our education system, 35 years ago, California was one of the top educational systems in the world. And now, arguably, we have fallen significantly, maybe one of the worst in the country, depending on how you judge it. A lot of us feel that it's not a matter of just throwing more money at it, because we've tried to do that and less or whatever. To some extent, it feels that the California Teachers Association and the groups that represent educators seem, from a layman's perspective, to put political power over the end result of better education for our kids and producing kids who can actually read and finish high school, etc. Is there anything at the state level that you are able to do? Is there enough power with the Assembly, or even will with the Assembly, to try to take on some of this and reverse some of the damage that's been done over the last 30 years?
Okay, very good question, and it's a topic that we grapple with on a daily basis. So first of all, just to lay out a little bit of a context, the state's budget with hard money is about $185 billion. Of that, $125 billion is just general fund. The rest is special fees, special fund fees. Fees basically go in, are self-generated, so those of you professionals who have to pay certain licenses, you pay into your specific industry board, and they process it, and then they use those fees to then administer the agencies that oversee your profession, your area of work. Well, most of government is not run that way. Most of government is run on taxes that we pay, or in California particularly, unfortunately, a lot of that is also based on the whims of the stock market. So that's why we have these ups and downs depending on how the market is doing. And we usually feel the impacts a little later, because if the market goes down right now, 6 months from now, we'll start seeing the cuts coming in. If the market goes up, we see expansion of certain programs coming in a year after that. So that's generally how the state finance has worked. When it comes to education, the reason why I'm kind of giving that quick primer is education, K through 12 education, is roughly about 56 to 50, almost $60 billion. It's roughly 44% of the state's budget. And you add community colleges, UCs, and CSUs, which is another 11%. Our state budget, about 60% is spoken for, about 57% is spoken for just on education. That's how much money goes towards education. Another 27 to 28% goes towards health. Another 10% goes towards prisons. What's left runs everything else. This is just the general fund portion. But you can see how daunting of a task it is. Now, anytime you have even several $1 million, which is what we refer to as budget dust in the budget, in the grant, in the context of California's budget. You will have a cottage industry form around it that's going to protect that source of funding because that's their revenue. That's what that's what their business thrives on. Well, now imagine if you have a $50-some billion fund going towards this one area. So that's complicated the issue quite a bit. When you sit on education committee, which I don't advise anyone to do, it's just a tennis match. Every issue that comes before you is either pro-labor, or pro charter or education reform. And all they do is try to go back at each other. I served on education committee, and when I tried to come up with a balanced approach, I no longer serve on education committee. So there's a little bit of the politics that goes on this as well. I just to kind of, when I ran in 2012, I was one of 6 candidates. I wasn't supported by the charter side. They had their own candidate who benefited from about $2.3 million just in the primary. And the Labor Teacher Association endorsed another candidate who came in 4th place. I was a community guy. I'd been a staffer for so long that a lot of the folks in the area kind of had a relationship and knew me. So I was outspent 7-1 by the charter folks. I ended up defeating the charter candidate in the primary. Went on to win the election. So afterwards, I was placed on education committee in my first term. I guess that was kind of done so that I would have my angst taken out and always side with one side.
It was hazing.
But I chose not to. I chose to kind of be I chose to actually listen to the issues and figure out where I'm going to go. And I had the advantage of that because neither side, I was independent. And so when, of course, after that, I was removed then. So there's unfortunately a little bit of that. But to answer your question, when things get to be so enormous and the fights become so enormous, it seems that the status quo just becomes the stalemate, which doesn't help anyone. But there's some important factors to look at. We say that funding is enough, but it really isn't. California invests at the 44th level of all other states when it comes to education funding. The 46th level when it comes to state librarians, school librarians. 40, maybe even 50th, I think, when it's nurses. 51st, and we're behind Guam when it comes to counselors. I mean, these are all folks that may not be teachers, but they're helping promote education, help promote and guide the path towards where the students need to be. And maybe not all students are going to go to college, but those are the individuals you need on the administrative side that are complementing the educational side and allowing students also opportunities of what it is that they need to explore for their benefit and for their future career benefit. So we're still dealing with a lot of challenges, but it's become complicated because of these big sides that are constantly stymieing any opportunity to look beyond just where these two arguments want the direction of education to go. So two things that I can offer is, I think we do need to look at funding, because when you look at Prop 13 and how since Prop 13's passage, funding in education has dipped down, that's one big contributing factor. And all we've done since then is constantly do a patch-up of different parcel taxes and bonds and temporary funding so that we recover what we lost. Well, I first of all don't like that. I think it's always good to present one tax and say, look, this is what you're going to pay. and this is what you're going to expect to get for what you're paying. But, and I'm not advocating for a flat fee or anything, don't make that mistake. I'm just saying that because it's always good to put the goalpost for people to know exactly what it is that they're working towards and what they can expect back. So parts of Prop 13 actually makes a lot of sense. You do know at the end of the year what you're going to be paying, and you do know, and government, on the other hand, knows what they're going to be receiving and what they can project their expenses to be. So that part works. But there's many other things about it that haven't been working and have been draining money away from the investments that need to go. Second point is accountability. I think we need to do greater work, and I'm not talking just about keeping, the teacher testing and all that. I think our teachers get tested to death. But I think that it's important for school districts to have a certain level of autonomy to better know how they can address their issues. Because going back to the funding issue, you look at the smaller school districts like La Cañada, Burbank, Glendale, Torrance, Beverly Hills. Why is it that none of them have charter schools?
Right, they don't even.
They're all well-funded, property taxes are higher, and two, because of maybe the level of affluence, the other benefit is if there are parents who are not, one of the parents that are not working, they're spending time in school. And that parental involvement is also something that's been missing. Anyway, that went on too long, but it's a complicated issue. So thank you.
Putting my card in. I want to win the door prize. I tried to bribe Gary to make sure that I won, but his integrity is too high and he won't do it. Just try to bribe If you have more contributions for the West Side Food Bank, right here, you want to make a difference. I'm pledging 100, Steve's doing 250. Anybody else wants to pledge something, please come up and give that to Gary. Yes.
I want to pose a challenge to the board members.
Dr. Manos is gonna, I think I put it in there.
Especially to Phil Gabriel. If he contributes 500 meals, I will match it.
All right, we have a matching challenge.
I want to keep
So
up
we have
with
Dr. Manos has a matching
matching
thing.
any board member who does 500 meals, I'll match it.
That's $125 is 500 meals.
All right, so we all have to put down board members and bank executives over there. All right, so let's do our door prize drawing. First, come on up here, and actually I'll come down here. And tell us just your name and your company and what you have.
Okay, hi, again, I'm Joan Fields Evans with Keller Williams Realty West Side, and the prize that I have is a beautiful Cutco product, which is a lifetime, long-lasting piece of cutlery, and a little gratitude calendar to remind everybody that we need to be grateful for every day, especially today, seeing what's going on in our city with the horrible fires, and a copy of American Lifestyle Magazine, which is a monthly publication that I put out. So that's about it.
Awesome, so where's the bowl of goodness? You're going to get to pick the winner. You do, you can't look, but you can pick.
I can't look. Let's see.
My card has a nice blue and orange on it.
I'll feel the go grab one.
That's right. Feel one that's sexy, silky, that's mine.
Sexy, silky, smooth.
And the winner is Esther T. Esther, please do not use the covering on your patients, okay? It's not acupuncture.
Spreader, by the way, and it says spread the word. Keller Williams Realty. And what I didn't say before, I have to squeeze it in, is to remember my name is Joan for my dream home.
Joan from my dream. Okay, very
That's
good.
what I didn't like to say.
Congratulations. All right, what's our next door prize? Thank you. I see a tower of goodness. Is this a tower of goodness?
This is a tower of goodness, and this is one of our promotional items. Great for the holidays, but we can also do them for any spring occasions, housewarmings, or thank you for buying a house from us.
Is it branded? Oh, it's got the branded ribbon on
It
there.
has a branded ribbon.
What a great idea. And you probably just get, if you have your own basket, you can get your ribbon with your logo on it or something like that and put it on whatever your own basket is. So that's a great idea. All right, so why don't you choose the, you get to pick the card. And the winner is? Do I need to get my reading glasses out? Here, hold on.
Our guest, Mehdi Baharan. Mehdi.
It's Madi.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Congratulations.
Just gave a contribution to this evening.
All right, very good.
New visitor to the chamber, by the way.
Welcome, it's good to have you. All right, do we have another door prize?
Yeah, the breakfast.
Oh, yeah, so let's do a drawing for a free breakfast. That means you can come next month for free, or what I would encourage you to do is bring a guest, and they don't have to pay, bring them for free. So I'm going to do the on that. I can if I want to. It's my prerogative. I'm feeling. Ooh, that one's, no, that's not it. Okay, here we go. And the winner is, it's Todd Baster. All right. So let's make sure that we get him written down as having the guest breakfast.
So we have another. So I just want to announce that thank you all for contributing $875, which is multiply that by 4, and that's how many meals we're going to be Westside Food Bank will be providing, which is somewhere in the area of 3,000 plus meals. Thank you.
So guys, the goal is $1,000. Is there any way we can just get a little bit more? If the goal is $1,000, we need $125 more to get the goal of $1,000. Is there anybody who can? You want to add a little bit extra more?
Bill?
All right, Dr. Bill, how much more do you want to add? So, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Belmonos has basically doubled his investment. He's matched Steve Little. I think there is a good competition there, but now we've raised $1,000 for the Westside Food Bank. Why I love the Westside Chamber.
I'm going to put something else in there.
Excellent.
All right.
There it is.
This is on top.
4,000 meals. Woo!
We have one more drawing.
So we have a drawing that's just for people that contributed this morning for the Westside Food Bank. It's a basket, some Behringer wines, it's a Napa package. You did contribute, I got you on the list. So, where's Rob? Come on up, man.
All right.
Cindy's hands are full, so why don't you pick a card out of here to see who's going to win the basket? This is Rob Valera.
Isn't this great?
And the winner is?
Marilyn Charlotte.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings our meeting to an end. I'd like to end our meetings with a motivational quote. Congratulations on all the door prize winners. If you would like to contribute a door prize, it gives you an opportunity to kind of showcase your business in a fun way. So we asked for a tangible value of $25 or more. Not just if it's a gift certificate, it has to be to a restaurant or something like that, but not a discount coupon or anything like that. An actual tangible gift of $25 or more. And we'll let you come up and talk about mention your business and build some goodwill. So. If I can have your attention, please, so we can bring this close. It's been my esteemed pleasure to be your host today in Buzz Park with Lightyear Marketing Group. And on behalf of the board of directors, we do wish you all very happy holidays. We hope that you can make our holiday mixer. Make sure you grab the flyer on there. But the quote I want to lift today is from William Jennings Bryan, who is both an orator and a politician. Destiny is not a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice. It's not a thing to be waited for, it's a thing to be achieved. So ladies and gentlemen of West Los Angeles, go out and achieve your destiny, do great things, and we will see you at the next event.